Missouri State fans, it's time to bear down.
And Paws up. Welcome to the podcast where we break down the Bears and Lady Bears basketball teams, how the teams are built, how they play, and where they're headed.
We dive into all the matchups, the rosters, the trends.
And talk with special guests from around Missouri State and Conference USA.
Bear down, Paws up.
Hey, welcome to another edition of the Bear Down, Paws Up podcast here. Tom Ladd along with Mark Beas. We are back, and this time we're delivering.
We are delivering. We do have in studio the coach of the Missouri State basketball men's team.
Cuonzo Martin.
There you go.
Is here.
I was trying to set you up for that, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are looking forward to visiting with him so much. It's better this week. There's a lot more news to talk about.
There is some interesting news today.
Yep, with a couple of his players, former players, one that he recruited at Mizzou, one that he got here that played for the Bears last year, some NBA news, but really want to talk about his team this year and how things are going with him. Cuonzo, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. It's certainly a pleasure to be here.
So, Coach, you're about 4 weeks into summer workouts now, and how's it going, and what can you tell us about this group of guys as a whole?
I think it's going very well. I think the biggest thing, we've had a great summer. Tomorrow we're finishing the fourth week because they have weights, and then we off for about 5 to 7 days, and we're back at it July 6th. But been a great summer in terms of skill, talent, length, athleticism, and a credit to our staff for doing a great job identifying guys in terms of how to build a program, and not so much as for the conference USA, just to be a great team, a great program. And I thought we did a great job with that.
That was one of my questions. You and I had a conversation at Huntsville at the Conference USA tournament, and one of the things you stressed to me was how you needed to get bigger on the front line and longer overall across the board. And so how do you feel this class has addressed that?
This is great. I think Trey's 6'2.5", Dylan's 6'3", and we have a kid, Dimitar, who's from Macedonia, the country. He doesn't get here until late July, early August, depending on when his visa embassy information gets handled, but he'll be here. Outside of that, you're talking about 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". But also length with skill, and then guys with physicality. So it's been a joy to watch, man, just to see the guys grow and continue to get better. You have guys that are wired to score the basketball. You have guys that are shooters. But we really focus on a lot of guys rebounding, playing hard, playing tough, playing together, all those things that make you a great team.
So you started, Mark had mentioned the Conference USA tournament. Seemed like you were on the phone right after, at least that night after the final game. You were making calls and busy right away trying to get your roster ready for this year.
It was very important, man. And we were working it quite a bit. Even when in Huntsville, we were recruiting. That's what we did. Dylan Rowe. So our staff had been on him heavy. Coach Crumpet spent a lot of time down in the Mississippi area recruiting him. So I had a chance to go see him. That was my second time seeing him in the break between the Huntsville games. And in that game, he actually had 15, 10, and 10, played well, facilitated, pushed the ball, great speed and size. So, yes, I mean, like anything, recruiting never stops. It's just, again, identifying the guys that fit what you're trying to do as a program.
Absolutely. From there, obviously, you pick up some verbals and some information on some players, but you're also, I guess, communicating with the players that were on the roster last year. How quickly does all that information kind of go through?
Well, that's always it. For me, that'll forever be a tough process at the end of the season, because it used to be years past, guys are seniors and they're gone. That transition. Now you have a kid for 1 year, possibly 2 years, and they transition either way. Because you build relate. I'm not one of those guys that says all business. I think it's more than just business. These are relationships, and hopefully a lifetime relationships, whether a young man is in your program or not. I just can't be the guy, just let's get them on the court, whatever happens, because you want to see them have successful careers and lives as well. So, you sit down with guys, but for me, by December, January, I kind of know where we are in terms of what you're trying to do, be successful as a program, and where guys fit in what you're trying to do. And then you have those tough talks, and they're never easy, man. But they're two-way streets now in terms of what's best for you as a young man. And I'm always candid in terms of, I see a young man in our program, but I don't think the next year he's going to play a lot. I have to be honest. I don't say I'm getting rid of you. I say, man, if you don't play a lot, we're not going to meet about why you're not playing in November, December. I'm saying it right now. So you have to do what's best for you. Now, you want to stay and fight, stay in the fight. No problem with that. I won't hold anything against you, but we have to know up front, here's where it is, and here's where we're trying to go as a program.
Cuonzo, 10 plus players each year since you've been here, having to fill that roster each time. Just how difficult is that, not just to fill the roster, but to find the right guys?
I think the difficult part is the right guys. What I like to see, and hopefully I answer that question as best I can. If I jump off track, knock me back on. But what happens is you want to find the best student athletes that fit what you're trying to do. The one thing I don't like is the consistent of the transfer portal. I'm not talking about the money. Whatever the money is, that's great. But I think when you constantly transferring every year, there's no continuity. There's no room to really grow from a young man into a man, because a lot of times the growth comes with adversity, comes with struggle, comes with disappointment. That's how you grow, when you weather that storm. But if you consistently up, jump, and move, and I'm not talking every case, because sometimes there are young men that went from $50,000 to $1 million. So I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about the transition to let me do something different. Let me go into the portal without even knowing what's going on, because the agent said I can get you more money. Well, we've seen in most cases that's not the case. Over the 2,000+ guys still in the portal that were told some of those things. So the difficult part is that finding the right guys that fit what you're trying to do, and understanding, man, I don't know what you were told in the past, but this is going to be hard. In order to be great, it's hard work, and it's very uncomfortable to get where you're trying to go. Like, for example, Trey Williams had a phenomenal freshman year down the stretch. I mean, he went from the first 24 games averaging almost 7 points, a little over 7 points a game. The last 10, he was 13.1 points a game, almost 4 assists. That's a tremendous amount of growth down the stretch when things get thick. Well, Trey understood there's still room to grow, and I want to continue to get better. So what's the point of me going to the transfer portal? I want to grow and get better. But that's also have the great team around his parenting that understands here's where we have to go in order to grow.
At what point last year, or was it after the season, you kind of looked at the team, and we talked about the size already that you're going to have this year. When did you kind of realize maybe with this conference or schedule or at this level, we need a little longer team?
Well, that's a twofold question. One is financial resources first and foremost. I mean, that kind of more than dictates your roster, and it'll tell you what you have. And I think Patrick and his team did a great job of getting resource revenue sharing, so we have more than what we've had the previous 2 years. So now, but also we knew March, probably earlier than March, okay, here's what we're working with. So now you're able to recruit certain guys because you know what you have going into the spring. So that part was great. But again, but also as a staff, it's like, man, there's a cost of being a great team in a program. Do we have the parts in order to do that? You have to be honest with yourself. And again, it starts with me first and foremost, because I'm the guy that brings them in. No matter who recruits, who's the lead recruiter, I'm the guy that makes the final decision. So we have to sit there and say, will this help us get a championship? Because that's what we're competing for. And I think now you have the financial resource, and I think we have the roster to do that. But that's a lot of hard work of refusing some guys that you might say, man, he can score the ball, well, that's all he can do. Well, we need this over here. And that's not easy. And now the goal is to put it all together, because there's a cost of being great.
I was telling Tom before you came in that this year is going to force us to take some grammar courses. Some of these names. I love the Matt Grays and the Dylan Rose coach, but Wending Rui and Achimovich and.
Well, you did get some names. You definitely will need some pronunciation guides for this year's team for sure.
Yeah, Rick got his work cut out.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
But it's good. But again, I love the diversity on our roster. I think we have 5 international players, which is great. But because this is still life. I mean, there's no better place to learn life and culture inside of a sports arena, inside of a locker room with so much diversity. Even if a guy from Florida, a guy from Mississippi, man, that is a beautiful thing to learn from each other and continue to grow. So I love our roster, and I love their chemistry right now, the camaraderie amongst each other, and the continued growth, to be selfless in terms of understanding that I don't know what I don't know, so let me ask questions. This guy's from the Bahamas. What does that mean? This guy's from Serbia. What was the breakup between Serbia and Bosnia? All these things, man, is fascinating, even for me as a coach, and learning and understanding all over again. So I enjoy it.
So we talked about the team this year, and here it is, June 25th. You've had a chance to kind of see most of the guys in person, maybe even putting up some shots, playing a little bit of, scrimmaging a little bit. Can you tell much at all at this point on what you've got and who some of the players are or anything about the squad this year?
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell you have no question. I mean, it's 15-man roster. No question there'll be 10 guys on the floor. I mean, without a doubt. Now the fight is who is that 10? Because the other 5 guys that are on the floor, I mean, from top to bottom, you have great parts of what you're trying to do. Now the key is the fight to come together in terms of what is my role? What do I specialize in? Let me be great at that role and then pursue that. And I think for every guy, just understanding what makes me successful, let's put it all together. You got to be an aggressive scorer. If you're a driver, be an aggressive driver. You're a shooter, be ready to shoot at all times. Like Malachi is a guy that's done a great job working on his game, dribbling the ball, posting up, and shooting the 3-ball. Well, the key, what I fight with him about, when I say fighters to our fans and support, that's a beautiful thing. That's parented. It's not like we're boxing with gloves on. But to get him to understand, catch and shoot when you're open, attack hard on the drive, then when you got to post up, and not have it already planned in your mind before you receive the ball. Allow the defense to dictate your first move because he's done such a great job of working on his game. Just a subtle thing in that, and other guys are tremendous drivers. Well, it's one thing to drive in certain competition. You were able to go in there and just dunk over guys. Well, now you're getting your shot blocked. You got to be able to play off 2 feet, similar to Jalen Brunson. Get in there, play off 2 feet, and make great decisions. So those are the things we're working toward and bring that all together.
One of the things, of course, their development on the courts, is more visible to everybody. But going to a few of the practices, what I noted so far this year is last year, Trey and Malachi as freshmen, they were kind of shy, kind of tentative socially and stuff. This year, those were the 2 first guys came over, talked to me, engaged me, started the conversation themselves.
That's growth. I mean, again, and the stuff that, oftentimes fans we don't see is the stuff we do behind the scenes and building relationships and making guys understand, making them uncomfortable in terms of being able to speak publicly, because that wasn't a strength of mine as a young guy. I really had to grow in it. The first time really for me speaking in public when I became a head coach at Missouri State, I had bits and pieces of it as an assistant coach at Purdue, but I was thrust into it as a head coach, so learning on the fly. So we try to put our guys in certain situations to be able to communicate with our fans, to have great conversations with our fans, but start amongst each other. But those 2 guys, and it's amazing when you see Trey out there, the way he's playing, he's flowing, he's moving with great pace, he's fast with the ball, he's shifty with it. And the new guys are sitting there and say, man, the way Trey comes off this ball screen, I said, well, you should have saw him 8 months ago. That's a different kind of guy, but the growth as a player. But Trey's also a student of the game. He works hard on his craft. But the thing that makes Trey special, same thing with Malachi, and it's twofold. They're coachable, but they're also approachable. And I think it's something to be said about a guy that's approachable. Is he a likable guy? And that's what makes those 2 guys good, because whatever you say to them as a coach, they're going to run with it. And that's what makes them good.
You mentioned Dylan Rowe, who I absolutely love, and he's more of a true point guard. So can we anticipate both him and Trey on the court a lot this year?
Oh, no question. No question. You'll see that quite a bit because Dylan's fast with that ball, but Dylan has the ability to score the ball. So the thing I've said to him in subtle ways, okay, see if you can get to the paint, get 10 assists. Because he can get in the paint, he's fast with the ball, he's shifty with the ball. And now, again, it's because he's also a really good athlete. And he's one of those guys as a point guard going and dunk on you if you're not careful, you don't see it coming. But now, again, playing off 2 feet, being able to read what's behind you. Because as a point guard, you have to have the vision and what's in front of you, what's on the peripheral, but also what's behind you. And those are the things we're working with him on as we speak.
As I look at the size of your team, which is unbelievable, I mean, as big as some NBA teams out there, Coach, your pick and roll game this year ought to be pretty darn good. You have some opportunities there with that to do some things, I think.
I think so, and but for us, it starts with I say it all the time: fall in love with the mundane. We got to rep certain things out, and as a team, they spend a lot of time in the gym working on the shot, and a lot of credit for that goes to Trey, Malachi, and Big Cam. Those guys understand. They corral the group together and say these are the things we need to do to be successful when the coaching staff is not around. But fall in love with the mundane. And the other part is you got to trust. You got to trust the uncomfortable, and you got to trust your work. You spend a whole week where you're shooting 500 plus shots a day. This is outside of practice. Well, when that shot comes up in practice, you got to be ready to shoot that shot because you work. You can't sit there and second guess and be thinking about it. When you open, shoot the ball, if not straight line drive. Because oftentimes we can train and do so many different things and make it complicated, but it's real simple. If I'm open, if I'm a shooter, shoot it. If he close out on me aggressively, shot fake, drive the ball, And now here's where we make the money at, what we call draw two. This is where the great ones rise. Can I make a decision in traffic? Can I make a decision with multiple guys on me? That's where the best ones get their worth.
You know, Coach, we've talked about the big front line, and you've got five guys 6'10" or better. You got Christian Thompson 6'8", 6'9" behind that. But where I've also noted is on your wings. You've got five guys now who are in that 6'6", 6'7" range, which before we were looking at 6'3", 6'4" in those positions. And so, can you talk about that a little bit? Because it looks like we've got some real options there at that third guard or wing position.
Great length, but also bodies. They have bodies. We say like Jordan Blair, who's 6'5", 6'6", 220 pounds. Malachi, 6'6", 205, 210. Matt Gray's 6'6", 6'7", 215, 220. I mean, those are three guys right there, and they play with a physical brand. And you see them getting after them in practice. Leano Roll, who's probably the best at jumper in terms of bouncing up and down. 6'4", but he got to get his body bigger. 6'4", probably 180 right now, so you got to get bigger and stronger, but an elite level athlete. So that was important because we feel like we had a personnel to switch 1 through 5. Maybe not so much with Andre and Big Cam, but when those guys off the floor with Christian, Wendang, you're talking about switching 1 through 5 and being aggressive and not skipping a beat.
Yeah, Wendang, he can run the floor, can't he?
Man, he's an impressive talent, and it's so amazing. When we watched him, Tony Irons, the great coach that used to coach at Vashon High School, he coached him at Mobley Junior College this past year. And
Mineral Area
Junior College. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Mobley's Coach Smith, a legendary coach Spat Smith. So he's not gonna beat me up for that. And what happened was Tony Irons teach toughness brand of basketball. They get after it. And when Dane was hurt, 12 games. And then we saw him late. Then we saw him in a tournament. And you can just tell how he plays the game. He knew how to play basketball. And I think a lot of times that is missed in today's game. Guys that know how to play. Not so much if you can score the ball, you can do all those things, you can shoot it, but he knew how to play. His body knew position. The ball went here, I move here. Got back cut, he overplays when I do this. So I was impressed. Now you watch him on the floor now, it's been very impressive.
Another guy that stood out a little bit to me because I didn't know much about him, hadn't seen much tape on him, but the big kid from wherever it is, Bosnia, over there.
Andre.
Yeah, Andre Achimovic.
Yes.
He really looks like he's got good hands, good feet, understands pick and roll, those types of things.
Yes, and I'm just saying his name, and I'm not sitting there comparing it to us. I don't want anybody emailing me, text me in November, but like the Joker, the big guy that can pass the ball. Can pass the ball, can play on the perimeter, can make 3-point shots. So very similar, but most international guys play that way. But he has a big physical physique at 6'10". He's probably 250. But he can pass the ball, he can post up, he buries you in the post, he makes good decisions, and he's also a willing passer. Like, for example, he gets the ball in the post and a double team is coming. He'll tell guys, cut, you move while he has the ball in his hand. And that's the great thing about it. He's one of those bigs that get the ball to high post, and he can pick you apart with his decision-making.
Another kid that has caught my eye in a couple workouts I've been, it just seems like he's a pretty complete guard, is Kevin Stubblefield.
Yes. 6'4", knows how to play, plays a sound brand of basketball, gets in the lane, play off 2 feet, strong, compact body, can shoot the ball, makes good decisions. More of a two, but he can play the combo, but more of a two than anything. Scores it and plays at a great pace, knows how to get you on his hips and make good decisions with the ball. So, and he's one of those guys that, you see these guys that play on the playground all the time. He's one of those guys that you probably see still playing on the playground. He enjoys playing the game.
A gym rat is what they call those guys. You've always liked guys that could shoot. It's important that you hit some shots from 3-point range. What kind of shooters you got this year? Obviously Trey's back. That helps because he had such a great field goal percentage last year.
I think Trey can shoot the ball. Now there's not a guy on the roster in terms of if you expect him to shoot. Now Cam's not a big Cam's not a 3-point shooter. Christian can make threes, but Christian's a slasher, athlete, can play the 4 to 5 position. He's one of those guys that can he make a three? Yes, he's made them in practice, but it's not the first thing he'll do. Andre, yes, he can make threes as a big guy. Wendang can make threes. Big Qual, who's a 6'10" freshman, can make threes, but it's not his strength right now. But all the perimeter guys, they can make 3-point shots. They can make them. But again, part of them is working, help them understand And like, for example, I studied a lot of Villanova when Jay Wright was there. Jay Wright did a phenomenal job of teaching his guys because when you watch Villanova basketball, you would think it was very simple in how they approached it, but so effective in terms of shot ready, shot ready. So we spend a lot of time when you open, catch and shoot because we have guys that can make plays where they'll force two to guard them. And when they pitch it out, that's the shot. It's not so much a drive right there because you got guys that are really good drivers, they're physical drivers, but it has to be that shot. When you open, take the shot. So those are the things with some guys. Malachi shooting the ball very well. Obviously, Trey shoots it well. Kevin Stubblefield shoot the ball. Jordan shoots it well. But it's shot ready on the catch and then do the next thing. Yes.
Isn't it funny though? As Mark and I were talking last week, we sit and talk about offensive traits and everything, and with Cuonzo Martin, it's always been defense. It's going to get you playing time, and so what's the defense? What do these guys look like defensively? Is it too early to tell?
Let me say one thing first. At the practice on Tuesday, for about a 10-minute spell there, that was the most intense defensive work I've seen in years in a practice. I mean, there was no place for the ball to go because of the length and the effort that was going on out there.
Now, Tom, you hear what Mark said. So
Yes.
Mark said the last 2 years I hadn't been working since that was the best he's seen. No, just kidding. But no, really, the size and length. So what we try to do is you try to play in the flow on both sides of the basketball. Like, for example, you watch Michigan. Michigan had a great team, but on both sides of the ball, they were moving. Defense was moving aggressive. Offense was moving. The ball didn't stop. Your defense, the bodies didn't stop moving. So those are the things we try to focus on. It's not so much as running 50 or 60 plays because that bogs you down unless you really work extremely hard on it all the time. It's being able to play and flow. And what's the next thing offensively? Same thing with defense. You have to be where you're supposed to be depending on where the ball is because you spend so much time on it. Offense, free-flowing, read and react, make good decisions, draw two, pitch it, make the right play, feed the post, cut off, and then play. But defense, man, you have to be where you're supposed to be. There's no margin for error. And I think right now we have the personnel to be elite defensively. But the key for us, and the thing I wrestle with, because in the past we've had great defensive teams, but it also had to do with how we played. I wouldn't say we played methodical, but we played a come down, run your offense. So that helped our defense. Now we want to be a great defensive team, whether somebody scores 75 points a game, but we did a great job with our field goal percentage defense. We kept them out of transition, but we scored it well. So it's not so much how it used to be where you held somebody at 60 points, 59 points. Well, we only had 62 points. So was it really great defense? No, it wasn't bad, but I mean, we want to be a great defensive team by flowing and let the game flow, not coming down and working the shot clock where it's 2 seconds on the shot clock, you shoot it, sprint back on D, and build a wall. We want to build a wall, but we also want to be able to score the ball.
You mentioned a young kid from Macedonia, Zaytov. Tell us a little bit about him.
Dimitar Zaytov is a 6'2" guard. He's 20 years old. He'll be a true freshman. He's been a professional player, international player, and it's different, obviously, in comparison to American basketball. And this is his 4th year, so he's coming over, a true freshman, a guy that can really shoot the ball well. He's a point guard, but he can shoot it well. He does a great job. One thing about a lot of international players, when they come to the States, they do a great job of reading ball screens because, again, they've been playing with pros since they were probably 14, 15 years old. Whether they got in the game or not, they struggled or not, they understand it. So he understands how to come off ball screens, how to read ball screens. He's really catch and shoot guy. And then there was a guy, I forgot his name, Rodney Purvis. So this kid, Dimitar, is on a professional team. Rodney Purvis played in the United States as a McDonald All-American from North Carolina. He signed with Louisville, but ended up going to NC State. And he's on the same team with Dimitar. And I asked Dimitar to send me Rodney's number because I wanted to ask Rodney about him because I know Rodney was a tough, hard-nosed guy from out of North Carolina. So I called Rodney and asked him about him. He said, Coach, he's a tough player. Certainly can play for you. He's a hard-nosed guy, can really shoot the ball. He runs the team as a point. He said, I get on him a lot about shooting the ball more, but he likes to run the point and get the ball where it's supposed to go because his dad was a coach, so he's kind of trained to do what I'm supposed to do as a point guard. But he said, no question, Coach. He fights me in practice. He plays all the time. He competes against me in practice. So that was impressive to hear because Rodney didn't owe that to me, and I thought he gave me some candid, sound information, and here we are.
That's great. There's a couple things I wanted to talk to you about that aren't relating to this year's team, but just recently, I think Mark kind of broke this story, but Keith Pallick, we understand, may have signed with the Knicks for their summer league team?
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. Keith is a talented basketball player at 6'9". And the one thing, I thought Keith had the talent to be the MVP of the league between him and Zach Cleveland. I thought he did. The one thing Keith didn't get was the 8 weeks in the summer. So, because he had a foot injury, and we didn't spend a lot of time talking about that. And that 8 weeks is valuable. So you talking about he came in in a boot, and we knew that. So that was 8 weeks in the summer he didn't get. So he didn't really get on the floor to maybe October the 14th, somewhere around there. So now all of a sudden going through it, all the stuff he had to go through, even to strengthen his legs, there's only so much you can do in terms of lifting. So I thought he had a great year from that perspective. But just imagine if he'd had the 8 weeks in the summer to really go. I thought he could have been MVP of the league. And I'm not saying he would have been a draft pick, but I thought he could have really been on the team. Now, he's on a summer league team, and I think he'll do great things. But I thought if he'd had that year healthy, you never know what could have happened.
He definitely will get a chance to play. I mean, obviously
Yes.
playing in the summer league, and if things don't work out in the league, he'll get a chance to play somewhere.
Oh, no question. I mean, you're talking about 6'9" and a talented player.
Yeah.
I mean, and a guy that knows how to play basketball. Even though he scored it well for us, he's a very willing passer. I just think that the next step for Keith, because it wouldn't, again, we were practice, and once he started practicing with us, you talking about mid-December, and I would say to the staff, he has a chance to play at the highest level. Now, the other part is what it takes to get there, the weightlifting, the impact and the sacrifice you have to make to be an NBA player because he can shoot the ball. And I think once the season was over, we worked with our guys, and he would be in there, and he really improved his shot. I don't think he got enough up during the season, also because of the way we played, trying to rest his legs, all those things. But I think you'll see a better version of him moving forward.
Coach, there's a lot going on, obviously, in college basketball off the court. Thought we'd get your thoughts on a few of those. One is Conference USA going back to 10 teams, and so there will be a true round robin this format this year. What's your thoughts on that?
I like that. I like the other two teams that were in the league, but I think in order to get a true champion, in my opinion, everybody has to play everybody. I think that is great for our league. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great league. It makes the league tough, which that's what you want. I mean, you want to fight to win a championship. This is what it is, and I'm looking forward to that. I like it.
NCAA tourney expansion. What's your thoughts on that?
I like it. I think it should be, what was it, 74, 78?
Yeah.
I think it should be 90.
Okay.
I mean, because when you look at it in terms of how many teams in football, when you look at the numbers, it probably should be more in the NCAA tournament because of how many teams. So I think it should be. I just think we have to find a way for mid-major programs to have great opportunities. I just think right now, it would. I'm not shocked there'll be a lawsuit coming from somewhere, maybe a coach or somebody in the conference to say it should be more teams because it doesn't make sense if you have that many teams. And when you look at the ratio of numbers in football, you have that many teams to make the bowl games. And in basketball, it doesn't make sense. So something has to give. And I think our commissioners of our mid-major leagues have to do a great job of fighting for each other to get us more opportunities.
Okay.
Is part of that on your back, though? I mean, as far as scheduling and stuff like that, or I know I hear coaches all the time talk about how difficult it is to schedule at this level.
Well, we have Iowa State right now. We say a power program. You have Iowa State. Now, there's never been a program that come in. The only power team that ever came in here, and I say power respectfully because I think we all power. I don't like using that, but was Arkansas. And I think Coach Rowe had a great relationship with somebody to be able to make something happen to get that done.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's not happening. And it just
that was your first game, wasn't it?
First game in Arkansas, so it was great.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, I mean, so to get those games are very hard. Like we plan Iowa State on a neutral court in Kansas City, which I think would be a phenomenal atmosphere. And then the next year we go to their place. But we've tried several times to get power teams to come to our place. They're not coming, or even to go to their place. The only way we get those games is the last minute. They need a game, and they got to get one. Okay, we'll take you now. But we've been fighting because we're not complete with our schedule because we try to get one or two of those there. So right now, I can say this, and we're working to get a triangle series between us, Drake, and Loyola. So we're working on it. So there's a lot of different things we're working on to make it go. But so to say it's on us as coaches scheduling, they have to be willing to play us.
Sure.
I think that's the other part. So now they're not willing to play us. What's the next thing for us in Conference USA, A10? I think A10 is a great now. Think about A10. They had SLU made it to the tournament. I think is that the only team, VCU.
Yeah.
So you're talking about in 18, they had budgets of $4+ million. Now it's going up to $8 to $10+ million in that league, and only getting 2 teams in. Something's broken. So we have to be better at how do we position ourselves to get more teams in the tournament. I think our commissioners have to do a great job of coming together and figuring out a way.
What's your thoughts on the 5-for-5?
The only issue I have there. Now, Mark, what is 5-for-5 for our fans so they can understand it?
Well, 5-for-5, they've changed it to where now every player, once they enter into college, they will have 5 years to also play 5 years,
Yes.
but no waivers except for really extreme things like I think missions and pregnancy. And something like
Yes.
that, but no injury ones. So
Yes.
so everybody will have 5 years that they can stay on campus and play, but that's it.
Great job, Mark. You did your homework. But also the 19 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
So you finish high school or you're 19 years old, your clock starts. You have 5 years. Now, I think it's great. Now, the other part that I think we have to air out, how many times are you able to transfer? Because I think that's the bigger issue. How many times is it still one-time transfer, then after that you lose that calendar year, you don't get it back? So I think that's the most important thing. But the other part is, here's where, as a former player, I would be a little frustrated. If I'm an all-time leading scorer at the university and I played for 4 years, now somebody comes and plays for 5 years and break my scoring record, there has to be an asterisk somewhere to say he played 5 years or she played 5 years. Because that's a lot of work in 4 years to do that. So is that still important anymore? So as an all-time leading scorer, I would feel a certain way about that. I'm an all-time leading rebound, all-time leading assist person. So I think we have to somehow identify that this is a 5-year person that broke this record. So other than that, man, I like the 5-5 because, again, because the whole goal is to go to school and get a degree, get an education so you can have a great career and a great life. Because the numbers still apply. 98% of student athletes will not be professionals, 98%. It seems like we get so consumed with the 2% in the NCAA. So we have to do a better job of making sure that 98% are very successful, not just average.
So what are your thoughts on the 22 class being folded into this? I think I saw this morning 15 people, students from Ohio, not Ohio State, have already, filed a suit to get them their 5th year because they fall just 1 year outside this ruling.
No, we got to keep pushing forward. Because my question is why?
Yeah.
Why? You do what you're supposed to do. That's it. We just changed this rule moving forward. That's in the past. Nope. You got your degree. If not, if worst case scenario, if you really want to come back to school, here's what we do. If you want to come back to school, you're more than welcome to come by. Now you can't play any sports, but you can work in the athletic department. You can work and you can shout at the athletic director. You can work in the business office. You can work in ticket office. You can work with football, volleyball, all these sports to understand what it means to be an athletic director. We'll give you that. We'll work toward getting you a degree, but you cannot play. That's it.
So, Coach, just today, actually last night, one of your former recruits, players, Trevin Brazil, was drafted by Denver in the NBA draft. He's a local Springfield kid, and not a lot of Springfield kids have gotten the chance to go into the NBA via the draft. But Trevin's a guy that you brought into Mizzou several years ago.
Yes, and we've had a great relationship. We've maintained it. I was actually at the draft party last night at Civil Kitchen. He hit me that morning and said, "Coach, I'm having a party. I'd love for you to be there." And I've always maintained a relationship with him, just in terms of, man, how to move forward. Never about whatever the coach is doing, their style of play. It's none of my business. Just make sure you focus on these things. This is where you have to grow and get better. Then I had several NBA teams calling me about, and mostly about his makeup, his character, his work ethic, all those things. Just happy for him, man, because you're talking about a humble young man, a guy when he was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, he would have never thought he'd be in this position because it wasn't a love for him. And all of a sudden you sprout up, get taller, longer. And he maintained his humility even though he was growing as a basketball player. And I think it's great, man, to have 5 years in college, the experience he's experienced in college. Now he's ready to play for a great program. He's with one of the greatest players to ever play the game. I think it'll only make him a better player being with Joker.
You saw him really develop too grow and develop. And I do mean grow because he went into Mizzou probably 6'7", and he's probably 6'10" now, but really mature over those years too.
Yes. So last night his dad and I were talking about it. But we played Illinois when I was at Mizzou. We played Illinois in December, and he did some things. I said, yeah, he'll play for a long time at the highest level if he maintains. He continue to grow and do these things because you can just see it, and he'll be there for a long time, barring any major injuries, man. Because he has the desire to be good. He's a humble. His approach. He's one of those guys. He'll follow your leadership. He'll be in the gym, do the things you ask him to do, and what makes him successful. He doesn't need the ball to be successful. He doesn't need 8, 10 shots a game. He'll get it off the glass. He'll sprint the floor, block a shot. That's what makes him good. And every team needs a guy like that.
Along with Trevin, it was a good night for the Valley last night. Bennett Sturts went number 16 in the draft. Ryan Conwell from Indiana State went on to play, a couple other places, was the number 37 pick. And Jacoby Gillespie, who started his career at Belmont, went at number 42.
I mean, Valley's always been a great league. I mean, there's no question about it. But Bennett Sturts, just a joy to see the young man grow and his approach to the game, being able to go against him. You can see the way he manipulates ball screens for a young guy. Saying young in terms of not being a professional is impressive to watch. And his composure, he maintains it. He's resilient. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's he's an Iron Man in terms of never coming out of the game. So just a joy, man. I'm happy for him.
And then something else, just from this area, and you give a chance to kind of witness this up close, but Link Year Prep had 5 guys go last night. Here it is, 30 miles from Springfield. I mean, the cream of the crop of high school talent right here in Branson.
Yes, it's a great situation, great organization, great talent, and they do a great job. And I think there's been somewhat of a breakup there. I think they're moving it to Kansas City, so that's another issue. But they'll still be good over in Branson.
Yep, and one of your former teammates' sons just got on there. Did you see that? LaFonso Ellis Jr. Is going to be a coach there. I know you grew up and played with LaFonso.
Well, his son, that's like family. So I mean, I knew it before it was happening. So that's like family.
I was a St. Louis boy when you and LaFonso were playing high school. And
good times.
Yeah.
James Harris, another man. They had some talent on the. Wow, coach.
Impressive talent, man.
Yeah. Well, who brought the ball down? I mean, there's a lot of scorers there. Did you have anybody to distribute?
Yes, we did. So in most cases, with our coach Benny Lewis, he passed away a year ago. But the one thing about Benny Lewis, you had to be as talented as that team was. If you were not in that 7-man rotation, I'm saying 7 nicely, certainly the 5, 6. But if you weren't in that 7-man rotation, you would probably not see the floor unless they get to 30 points. That's it. Other than that, he was rolling with his guys. He was playing. But the thing about East St. Louis, Benny Lewis was also a baseball coach. So in basketball, you knew who you were. So the basketball guys were playing. Now, we had some really good guys that played basketball, but they were going to college to play baseball. So Benny understood that dynamic as well. He played those guys, but now when baseball season came, they played baseball. But, man, if you weren't in that 7-man rotation, you were watching that game for the most of the night, and there was no complaining going on. But in terms of our point guards, he always did a great job because he was a point guard. Get the ball where it's supposed to go. Get the ball where it's supposed to go. And you had to do it because if not, it was somebody else on the bench that would take your place.
They're still drumming out some good talent. Cam Boone, of course, coming from that area. But they don't have Lincoln anymore. Is it just one high school in that town?
Yes, I think Lincoln closed down in 2000. And it's just East St. Louis Senior. Now, obviously, they still have tremendous football as well as basketball. They won the state championship again in basketball. So they do a great job in a lot of sports, track and field. I mean, phenomenal job. There's some areas we need to continue to grow as a community and city in East St. Louis. And I have to say this before I continue to talk about the sports, but Jackie Joyner Kersey is doing extraordinary things in the East St. Louis area. Extraordinary. She's the one. Everything flows through Jackie Joyner. I mean, she's like a big sister to me, and she's done a phenomenal job, man, of building the community resources for the kids, man. Just a legendary, beautiful human being.
Absolutely. And she's part of, they've got an event coming up in St. Louis. I think she's chairman of another big sporting event coming up there. I saw that. I got to meet her several years ago. They had a big track meet at SIU Edwardsville and got to interview her and meet her. And great. Oh, what a great person.
Yes,
unbelievable.
She is. She's, man, I've been knowing Jackie. So Jackie's obviously older than me, but me and her sister went to school together. So we kind of grew up together. But Jackie's like a big sister, man. And I'll never forget when she's in the Seoul Olympics, man. We just shut down school. Everybody's in the auditorium just enjoying it, man. Just she's that type of person. I ran a basketball camp back in when I was out of college. I just started a basketball camp. And Jackie's living in California. She came back to the camp, and that's the level of person she is. She's all East St. Louis, man. She wears with pride, and she's doing extraordinary things in the city.
That's great. We were speaking of the high schools there. They had Assumption, Lincoln, and East St. Louis High, and two of those are long gone. I
Man,
get
Tom, you spend a lot of time in that area.
we played against them.
Okay.
We used to play against them, so I remember them very well.
All them closed. That's Assumptions. I hate to say it, but Assumption is a prison now. Yeah, well, it went from a prison to a distillery now. So they figure that's probably where more money is. Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Well, Coach, what's the rest of the summer look like for you? Recruiting in July, is that right?
Yeah, so June, the month of June is high school team recruiting, team camp, meaning your high schools. July is back to AAU grassroots. So we have, I leave tomorrow to go to a tournament in the Illinois area. And then we have a couple of sisters will be in Texas, and we'll be all over the place. And then July, of course, back to AAU basketball. And that could be, Vegas, everywhere. Just depending on where the guys that you're recruiting are. But, like anything, this roster now, there's outside of Amari Oba, he's the only high school guy that we really looked at. Everybody else, we got Qual late, and because of relationships, and we're not seeing Qual when he's a younger guy, but I know his high school coach very well. But most of the guys are not high school guys on our roster. So for us, we always try to take high school guys, but probably not more than 3 high school guys.
You mentioned camps. You got something still going on with your camps, don't you?
We have a camp, I think, in July. I think it's July 20th. And we're doing that. This is the first time I've ever really done a camp in July because always, we get them in June, but I think it's July 20th through the 22nd from like 9 to noon. And that's really a camp for our community, get kids involved. Because we want to continue to build those relationships. And I think it's very important. I thought, Coach Quinn is our camp director who will eventually be our general manager. He does a great job working in the community, getting the kids involved. And he's a phenomenal camp teacher. I think it's impressive to have a camp coach and a camp teacher that the kids remember and they enjoy being around. So July 20th through the 22nd.
Yeah. He's a great DBO too. I mean, I go through him and I mean, he is so responsive, I mean, he's just great to work with.
He's a gifted man. He'll be athletic director soon.
There is a staff addition this year. You made some changes. Can you fill us in on that?
So Nick Caloris, Carson Cunningham, who did a great job for us, took a job at Air Force, and obviously Carson and I go way back. So Nick Caloris filled that spot, and Nick's one of those guys. I met him probably about 6 years ago, and he does a great job with grassroots basketball. So for most, you two guys might remember 5-star basketball camps. Those are really the camps before AAU basketball, 5-star, more on the East Coast, New Jersey, New York area. So Nick came up under those guys that ran the 5-star camps for years. So now when you run 5-star, you got to be able to run a camp, you got to be able to direct traffic, you got to be able to put them together, flights, get them to the airport, do drills, all those things that in terms of leading direct operations and coaching, Nick was part of that since he was 19 years old. Nick also started his own prep school. So stuff like that. I mean, just great relationships. He's a New York guy, so he has phenomenal relationships, been in Florida, been all over the place, and I like being around him. He has great energy, great enthusiasm. He has a great awareness. He has great relationships with players, and he's one of those guys that gets to the root of players, getting to know the players, and I think that's very important.
Absolutely. I know Kyle Weems is officially retired, one of your former players, one of the all-time greats at Missouri State, came in, Hall of Fame. I'm sure there's more awards coming for him. There should be, hopefully, at Missouri State. I didn't get to talk to you after that. How was the conversation with Kyle, and what's he doing now? I thought I saw him kind of accept a job somewhere.
So he's the agent now. He's working with the agency, and I think he'll be great at that because I mean, with the agency, athletic director, superintendent, president, I thought he'd be great in those roles. Not so much the coaching part. I just said, man, you don't want to do that because that's going to take a lot out of you. But being an agent, I think he'll be great at it because he has great relationships. He's one of those guys. And when he got inducted in the Hall of Fame, man, we've always kept in touch. So it's not like I hadn't seen him in years.
Right.
We always it's always great to see him, and we talk all the time. So I'm just happy for him. But he's one of those guys that his success, you're not surprised. You're not.
And you had another player off that same team, I believe, still playing over in Germany. Is that right? Is he still playing?
It's Will
Creek. Yeah.
He's in China, so
China.
He might have citizenship as well. Now every year he says this is the last go round, but you know how what happened. The money calls you back, and Will is as gritty as it come. And I'm not going to say he's David Goggins, but he's one of those guys, man, that just going until you put him in the cast, he's going to keep fighting. And if you doubt him, he's going to come even harder. And that's what makes him good. But a very intelligent man as well.
Yeah, Creek was one of my favorites. Earlier we were talking about Achamovich, and he reminds me a little bit of Creek in that low post. You know?
Yes. I mean, Will Creekmore. Now, Will Creekmore was one of those guys, man. You start getting the best of him, you better protect yourself because he's throwing elbows, he's doing some area. I mean, he's gonna get after you. He's a physical guy. He plays extremely hard. He's a competitive person, and that's why I always say to guys now when they say compete, I always say, what does that mean to you when you say compete? Is it just a word? Give me an example what that means to compete. Will was a competitor. Will was a fighter. Will was gonna scratch and claw to the end. I felt like Will should have been a first-team All-Conference guy that year. Kyle won the Player of the Year. Will was so upset he wasn't a first-team All-Conference guy. It's just because of the work he put in, but also a guy that everybody doubted and think he could be that. But he works extremely hard.
Absolutely. And then finally, Big Mike has moved over. He's got some shoulder pads now. How dangerous is that to put some pads on that guy? He was dangerous without pads, but now he's playing football. Have you talked to him here recently?
Oh, we talk all the time. And not so much as the football piece. That no longer belongs to me. Just
right.
I just talk with him in terms of how it's his well-being, and I care for him like a father figure. But outside of the football piece, that's Coach Casey and his staff. That has nothing to do with me. But he's doing a great job. He's loving it, man. But the thing is, one, Coach Casey and his staff did a great job. And because he talks about Coach Casey and Coach Al all the time. They did a great job. They did their job. Because when you're going up against Illinois, Florida, Oklahoma State, and those programs, Tulsa, they did their job. And for me, it wasn't as if I said, Mike, here's what you need. It had nothing to do with me. Mike would present information when he come back with this. And I said, okay, great. Present the information, he come back this. I mean, just take it a step further. During the graduation, Coach Casey went behind the scenes just to congratulate him. All those things, man. When you're trying to get a guy, those little things matter. Well, Mike remembered. I didn't say, Coach Casey, here's something you might want to do. Did it on his own. So Mike is enjoying it. Now, in terms of what happens in the game, man, that no longer belongs to me, man. He has a new staff. I just care about him as a person.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we appreciate you being on the podcast. Wish you the best of luck the rest of this summer. Can't wait for the games to begin here in November.
Thank you, guys, and I enjoyed being in the studio with you.
Great.
Cuonzo Martin, head coach of the basketball Bears. We'll get him on again here, Mark, before the season starts and during the season.
Yeah, maybe once the schedule comes out, we can talk about that a little bit.
Great.
Yep, absolutely. We've got a couple other things to wrap about here on the program.
Yeah, I thought we'd, since it dropped this week, talk a little bit about the Lady Bear schedule.
Came out this week, as a matter of fact.
Came out this week, and it's one of those schedules as a mid-major. I think it fits, what the Lady Bears needed. There's a good mix of some other mid-major teams. There's at least 3 Power 4 games on the schedule. And so, yeah, I think, it's like any schedule. It's got some real ups to it in terms of those 3 Power 4 games that are on there. A couple of the mid-major games are going to be very good. I think North Dakota State was an excellent team last year, one of the best mid-majors, and they returned their top 7 or 8 players, Tom. So that's a great game there. When you look at the start of the year, it's built for us to get off to a good start. Of course, you never know with the portal and stuff what teams look like from year to year. But out of the first 6 games we play, 5 of those teams were under 500 last year. And so, unless they make big leaps, those would look to be games we could get off to a good start against. The only team that's not below 500 in the first 6 is Marquette University, which is a great Big East game that we got here. And they were 18-12 and 10, I think 12-8 in the Big East last year. So that's a quality Big East program coming in here to GSB Arena. the other Power Four games we got a return match with Kansas. And I think that's a winnable game. We went to overtime with them here
Yeah.
last year, and I think they've lost a few players. Now their top players, Samaya Nichols is still back, and she's a load.
Really good.
Really, really good. But still, we were competitive with them last year, and I think they've lost a little bit more than we did. So hopefully we'll be in that game with them. We got to go down to Arkansas. That was probably our worst game of the year last year, Tom, because that wasn't a very good Arkansas team that came in here and beat us by like 15 on our home court. They ended up only 12-20 last year. Now, first year coach for them last year. I'm sure they'll be a better team this year. But again, I would look at that as a winnable Power Four game when we go down there. So it's set up well for us, to be able to get the kinds of wins that help you build a resume to get in that large. But, the Pratfars there are, especially those early games that I talked about, 3 of those are on the road, Tom. And so those set up really potential, what you call bad loss games against teams that aren't going to have very good nets. And then if you lose against them, it really cripples you in terms of your net and the overall appearance of your schedule and your team.
That would be Wyoming, Wichita State, SLU, and Kansas City.
Yeah. Southeast Missouri's the first game. They were 14-18 last year. University of Wyoming's next. They were 10-20. Wichita State was 8-23. Then Marquette, who was 18-12, but then SLU, who was 12-21. So yeah, Wyoming, Wichita State, and SLU. Those are all road games against what were last year pretty weak teams.
So the way it lines up, your home games this year for the Lady Bears, non-conference. They haven't released the conference schedule yet, but you've got SEMO, Marquette, Central Arkansas,
which gave us a good game last year, and they were 21-11.
North Dakota State, UT Arlington, and Austin P.
Right.
Those are all non-conference home games, non-conference road games for the Lady Bears. At Wyoming, Wichita State, SLU. They play Kansas City again at the Sprint Center in Kansas City, not in the practice gym or whatever they call that, the rec place. So that'll be good. At least it's in a real gym. Then they play Minnesota and Cancun, and a team to be determined in the second game, November 26th and 27th. That's around the Thanksgiving holiday. And then 2 road games in December. You've got Kansas and Arkansas both in December.
Yeah. Now that Minnesota game will, it looks to be a top 20 game. I mean, Minnesota is really good. And they were 24-9 last year in the Big Ten, 13-5 in the conference. Dawn, I never know how to say the name, Plazuric. Plitzwhite.
Yeah.
Is that how it is?
Yep.
Yeah. I never, ever quite cut that down. But I think she's one of the best coaches in college basketball on the women's side. We saw her originally when she was the coach at South Dakota.
Right.
And they came in here and beat us once, I recall, during those days. Then she went to, and while she was at South Dakota, she was 158-35. Then she went to West Virginia for 1 year, did pretty good there. She was 19-14 or so, but the opening happened in Minnesota, and that's her area right through there, the Dakotas, Minnesota. That's where, that's her home front there. And so she moved back to Minnesota, and in her 3 years in Minnesota, they've been 69-36. Minnesota wasn't traditionally thought of prior to that as, one of the traditionally, good teams in the Big Ten year in and year out, but they have been ever since she's got there. So that's going to be a really tough game down in Cancun when we take on Minnesota.
No doubt about it. And I think Beth likes that. I think she likes going on those trips and playing. I mean, it's been that way since she's been here.
Yeah.
When they go on these holiday trips, they play pretty tough teams. Florida State, they played some really good ones. So this year, we don't know who the second game is against, but
no. The whole question everybody always has is, do we have a schedule good enough to potentially get us an at-large? And this schedule, I think, has enough of the right things that if we play well early in the year. Now, that's the problem. We haven't been really sharp at the start of the year so far in the last 4 years. Now, a couple of those were obviously, the first year you're just, crapshoot with trying to get a team together and all that. And then, right when we were right there, we had that year where we lost our whole front line to the Porto, and that kind of, I think, set us back a little bit that year. So this would be the year when you look at it in terms of experience, star power, bench strength. That hopefully we can come out of the chute a little bit stronger, because that's what it takes. We've been averaging about 4 losses in the non-con, and you really as a mid-major can't afford more than 2. You really got to get it down to where you're coming out of the non-con 9-2, 10-2, something like that.
Right there around the top 25.
Yeah.
Getting votes at least.
Yeah, at least getting noticed a little bit
Yeah.
and things like that. And so that's the thing. And when you're doing that, you got to win some of those Power 4 games.
Yeah.
The 3 years prior, and I'm not comparing coaches here, I'm just comparing what your schedule has to happen with them. The 3 years prior to that, we were an NCAA tournament team each year, never won the league in terms of the tournament to get the automatic. So, of course, 1 year was COVID. We didn't go at all, but the other 2 years we got at-large bids. And, in those years, we were 25-6 in the non-con. So, which again, if you look at it, that's 2 losses a year and 8-9 wins almost. So that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. And so the schedule is set up for that. There's every reason to think we can do that, but that's what we have to do.
And then, of course, sometime soon they'll release the Conference USA schedule. And like the men, we talked with Cuonzo Martin just moments ago. It'll be a round robin event.
Yeah,
there won't be games, where you only play, one team once.
Yeah,
or 2 teams once. You play everybody twice.
Right,
home and home.
And I'm like Cuonzo. I think a round robin is the only way to have a true champion. I always like round robins, and so. That will be, I think a big improvement. And, I think the tournament down in Cancun, you just, if you go 1-1 down there, I don't know who the second game will win, but you don't want to go 0-2 in those things because they draw attention. People look at those tournaments and stuff. And so I think if we can go down there, go 1-1, win the games we're supposed to win, and then take maybe we get Arkansas or Kansas on their home court, and then you're in good position.
Yep. One other note before we end the pod here today, just kind of a little housekeeping thing. Did you see the Missouri Valley Conference made a change to their tournament, men's and women's?
Yeah, pretty much real similar to what Conference USA is doing now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Both tournaments in St. Louis now. They're going to be 10 teams. And the top 2 teams for both sides will advance all the way to the semifinals.
Right.
So an advantage for you get actually awarded for doing well during the regular season.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Imagine that.
And I mean, for mid-majors, it just makes so much sense, because one of the things that hurts mid-majors is when their top teams don't make it to the tournament. Then, of course, they look terrible, because you got your 6th place team or 7th place team, and they go in there and they get blown out by 40 in the first game. And, it just doesn't give the look to the conference that you really want people to have. And they make assumptions based on that. And so, I think anything you can do to give an advantage to your top couple teams, to give them a reward for what they did during the regular season. And again, think about that. They deserve that. They had to fight hard right to the end of the season to win that. They couldn't take games off late. They were battling for a title. And so, I think it really makes sense to reward those teams.
Absolutely. Big thank you to Cuonzo Martin for coming in today.
Yeah, I could listen to Cuonzo talk all day long.
Absolutely. We're throwing him. I mean, everything we threw at him, he handled. He didn't refuse to answer anything. Everything we asked him, answered great, and look forward to doing it again with him. And hopefully we'll have Coach Cunningham on here maybe next show. We'll see.
Maybe even next week. Great.
You bet. Mark, great show. We'll do it again next time. Don't forget, tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. It's the Bear Down, Paws Up podcast. We're on the 96.9 The Jock website, on Facebook, Twitter, and Spotify,
and
all YouTube.
And on YouTube.
That's right.